Hello? Yeah. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes, now it will be clear. Yeah, and what about the screen? Is that fine?
Still the partial.
Oh. But it's giving the full coverage, right? Isn't it?
Once you scroll, we can see.
Okay. So I'm just zooming in so that it becomes easier for you. Fine?
Okay. Fine.
Yeah. Okay. So, while we look into the objectives of cost audit, okay, so we did a lot of discussion about cost and management audit in our previous session. But of course, I would say you would have not missed on it. We had a lot of discussions. Basically, it was an introduction class. So, one thing we discussed was about cost audit. It is not mandatory for all companies. So, we will see what is the applicability for that. And then how do we file the things with the MCA, and it happens once in a year. And it needs to be certified only by a CMA, okay, and it's a kind of a special audit. And we had related terms like, for example, GAAP, IAS, IFRS and CAS. So basically the financial accounting concepts, the financial accounting way of doing things. For generally the company uses GAAP, that is generally accepted accounting principles, and there are certain specifications, okay. Yeah, I have another guest to admit. Yeah, there is a specification also about like for example, if it's a private limited company, if their reserves and surplus, that is retained earnings, is more than 250 crores, then they are supposed to compulsorily adopt Indian accounting standards. Basically, most of the listed companies go by Indian accounting standards, and based on which the accounting happens. But you should also understand that is something called cost accounting standards. So when we talk about costing records, when we talk about cost implementation, which cost to be considered under which category, because we do a lot of grouping and regrouping of cost. So this follows the principles which are laid in cost accounting standards. So these cost accounting standards are issued by the Institute of Cost Accountants of India, which comes under as an act of a parliament, okay. So whatever we do for cost audit, we abide by this cost accounting standard, as well as, since it is from the financial accounting, you know very well the data for a CA and a CMA flows from the same thing, okay. It's that the transaction level, everything that is recorded is being taken, but cost audit goes in a different way where we identify the cost centers, profit centers, okay. So basically we work on the cost centers, excuse me, and prepare the cost sheet stuff, fine. So if you see a normal skeleton structure of a cost sheet, that's what we discussed last time, keeping in view direct materials, direct labor, direct expenses, so that builds up prime cost. So this is just a revision of what you have already done in costing. But honestly speaking, when you look at all these items, the way it looks, okay, it's basically different from how a cost statement is in a cost audit report. Of course, the inference is the same, the way you show the cost is the same, but the headings under which each of the cost is disclosed will be different, fine. So let me just take you through the book for the format also, fine. So this is about cost accounting standards. The first chapter is completely theory. So I want you people to go through it, because there are chances of getting multiple choice questions from that arena. And while we look into companies, so cost records and audit rules 2014. This is the one that we comply with. So you should be very careful about these dates and the act under which the rules which we as a cost auditor should follow. It is Companies Cost Records and Audit Rules 2014, okay. So while coming to this, there are certain rules. So this we already discussed up to rule 4, but this is a very important part, and since we have lot of participants today, I thought we should discuss on it again, okay? So there are certain rules. These rules are important, and it's like you have to memorize it. What are all the things that is contained under each rule? So when it comes to rule 1, it is short title and commencement. So these rules may be called the company's cost records and audit rules 2014. They shall come into the force on the date of publication in the official gazette, that is 30th June 2014. So you can see how lately, right, it has come into force. Then if you look at rule 2 is the definition. So who is a cost accountant in practice? See, a cost accountant in practice should hold the certificate of practice, and every year this COP is being renewed, but it is it is subject to certain conditions. One is you renew your membership and certificate of practice fees, as well as you compulsorily undergo 30 hours. Now they have raised the number of hours of continued CP hours, okay, they call CPE. That is continuously you have to attend different workshops for 30 hours during that year. Only then you are eligible to hold a certificate of practice. And when you are holding a certificate of practice, you cannot involve in a full-time job. That is again, so it is like, it should be a practicing full-time cost accountant. A cost accountant who is in practice for full-time is only eligible to do this. And there are different things like Indian accounting standards. You should know what it is, and all other words and expressions that are used in the rules. So these rules, okay, contain things. Rule 3 is very important. This basically discusses about applicability of cost records. So first, as I told, it is not applicable for all the companies, like we have statutory audit, okay. So basically it is applicable for 2 categories of companies, Table A and Table B. Table A we call the companies are under regulated sector, Table B is non-regulated sector. So in order to understand this, okay, so better have this flow chart in your mind, which gives you a good portray of what are all the things that you need to look into, okay. So applicability, for whom it is applicable? It could be for domestic or foreign company. You cannot just say it is for the domestic company. So it could be for domestic or foreign company, which is listed in table of rule 3. So we are going through rule 3. So here we have 2 sectors, one is regulated, another one is non-regulated, which is engaged in production of specified goods or providing services. And what should be their overall turnover? Overall turnover from all its products and services should be greater than or equal to rupees 35 crores preceding the financial year. Okay. So if their turnover goes to this extent, goes beyond 35 crores, then maintenance of cost records is applicable for them. This is application of cost records. We have still not moved into cost audit. We are just in the stage of rule 3, which talks about application, who are all supposed to maintain cost records. Fine. So sometimes the question comes from people like, is there separate accounting system for costing as well? See, many companies have a single ERP, which, like for example, if you would have experienced SAP, there is a separate module for costing even. So the way it looks, because everything is picked from the transactions that is recorded in the system. So in that way, this particular model gives you the costing, cost center wise details and stuff. So but that is for a larger ERP. So it all depends upon the system. So as a cost auditor, so like when you choose to practice, okay, so at that time you choose to be a cost auditor for the companies, you do cost audit. It's not just necessary to know what is cost audit or cost record rules, but it is also necessary to know about the company. So as I have already discussed in my previous session, I think in the previous session it was Preetham who was there. So I told like, I have to study. See, we are from a background of commerce. There could be people who are also from the engineering background. So when we take a client, okay, so that client might be, we may know the process or we may not, okay. So whenever we choose a client, when we get the proposal for being for getting appointed as a cost auditor, first one is we have to study or we have to do some homework before approaching our clients. Because for example, when I was speaking about my experience, I am a practicing cost accountant, but I have limited clients. So if you see one group of companies which are 3 different businesses, one is the highway laying business, they are into the infrastructure which falls under the non-regulated sector. Another one is of the spinning business, they spin the cotton into yarn. Another business is sugar and distilleries. So these 2 are basically table A, that is regulated sector kind of companies. So whenever I approach, like I went for a factory visit. So before getting into the factory visit, what I do is I entirely study the nature of operations in order to get a hold on the terminologies that are used in the industry. So all of a sudden they talk about enthalpy value, they talk about cogen, they talk about bagasse. I have to know different byproducts that comes out of a sugar when it is processed, sugar cane when it is processed. So likewise, knowing the business operations is very important. Second one, paying a factory visit, going there, visiting, looking at the processes that is happening there will give you a more of insight, because each and every location of machinery, EB consumption, how the meters are installed, how sequentially the things are going on in the factory floor. So all those things you can get a hold on it only when you make a factory visit. Then afterwards you have to just not work in isolation, you have to build up the rapport with all the heads. Like you might be meeting HR people, because you will be working on the HR data as well, because when you look at salaries and wages, okay, so if you see the P&L account will show salaries, but under cost accounting we want to know which salary is related to the direct labor, which is indirect labor who are engaged in production, and which is not at all related to production but they are into the admin side, and which are related to sales department. So this kind of a segregation, for this you need data from the HR. So likewise, if you want to know more about the production, then it's the production manager, you got to meet them. You will be given a SPOC with whom you can work and get the information. But all these things are to be made. It's not just you are sitting in one place, taking data, pulling data and just doing it. It can never happen. You have to understand the business operations. You have to understand how the factory is laid. You have to understand and communicate with other departmental heads to get the information. And then you get into the cost audit. Okay? So that way, I would say that's the beauty of cost audit. Basically, it's not just you sit in one place and do things. Okay? Next comes Rule 4. So Rule 3 was the applicability of cost records. Well, we come to Rule 4, it is applicability for cost audit. Okay? So that was maintenance of cost records. After the maintenance comes the cost audit. But how is that threshold and other things are there? So once again, there is a very good illustration of this in the form of a format. So applicability of cost audit, it falls under Rule 4. We have regulatory and non-regulatory sectors. So if you look at regulatory sectors, I'll show you what are all the companies that fall under that category. But before getting into it, there are certain thresholds that we are supposed to bear in our mind. So first comes the overall annual turnover. So annual turnover is basically according to our financial year, April to March. Annual turnover during immediately preceding financial year is greater than or equal to 50 crores. Then aggregate turnover of the individual product or products or services is greater than or equal to 25 crores. Then it requires cost audit. But if revenue is from export and it is going to give you some foreign exchange, then And if that forex export sales is greater than 75% of the total revenue, that is, you have more of exports than catering to the domestic market, then you need not have rule 4, just rule 3 will apply. That means cost audit is not applicable, but maintenance of cost records is applicable as per rule 3. And also, if you are operating in an SEZ, that is special economic zone, in that case even rule 4 is not applicable, which talks about the applicability of cost audit. It is only rule 3 which is applicable. Okay. So this is the case with regulatory sector. When it comes to non-regulatory sector, you have to watch the turnover. See, it is just the double of regulatory sector, that is greater than or equal to rupees 100 crores. Okay, so in that case, they look into the individual product or product services which is greater than or equal to 35 crores. So for these two categories on the either sides of this particular flow chart, you will find cost audit under rule 4 is applicable. Whereas for other categories, that is, if you are engaged in exports and 75% or more of your revenue is from exports, or you are in a special economic zone, in that case, the cost audit is not applicable. Any doubts? So far so good? Have I made things simple or it is still confusing?
Good, ma'am.
Good? Okay. Good to go with the next one. Please people participate, try to interact, ask more doubts. So that will give you like the two-way communication, and the interaction is what is required. Okay. It's not necessary you have to ask me in English itself. Why I am taking the entire thing in English is because I have seen when you answer a theory paper, right? People have problem in putting forth their ideas in English. But our papers are assessed only in English. So I want you to really work on if you have any problem with the language, because we are supposed to use certain terminologies when it comes to theory paper. It's not like you write it in a layman's language. Fine? So that is another thing I want to insist upon. If you have any doubts or if you have any difficulty in writing an answer, you can always get back to me. See, it is not just limited to the hours that I am available here. You know very well my WhatsApp number. So if you just contact me over that, if you write your theory question and an answer, you can send the image to me. I can give you the feedback. That's not a problem, okay? And then guys, don't go by the chat GPT versions, okay? That's not going to help you anyway in your exam. Fine, so be careful about it. Because people have the habit of framing such beautiful theory answers. So when I ask people for presentation, they take it from chat GPT. Put it, give the finer version of it, so the job is done. It's not the case, because you are going to write a pen and paper kind of a question, okay, and it's going to be tricky. The way you are going to impress the invigilator is very important. The way you articulate, the way you put the sequence of points in your answer sheet is very important. So let's move on to rule 5, which talks about maintenance of cost records, okay. This is basically the requirement to maintain cost records in form CRA1. See, there are certain rules under which you will be having the forms. Yes, Pramod, I'm just muting you. There is some background noise from your side. Never mind, okay? Yeah, thank you. Or else it will be disturbing others. So fine, so we deal with forms. So you should also be well versed with the forms, because the questions will basically revolve around these forms. So when we look at cost records in form CRA1, okay, it was postponed to financial year 15-16 for the following companies in some non-regulated sectors, namely coffee and tea, milk powder, electronics and electricals and electronic machinery. Fine, so this is maintenance of cost records, and this happens in form CRA1. Rule 6 is cost audit. इसमें जो फॉर्म लगता है that is form CRA2 which deals with the appointment of cost auditor, giving the details of the cost auditor. Fine. So there are certain conditions for it. Okay. For example, when you fit into the category of cost audit, you got to appoint a cost auditor. So how many days the rule gives you is 180 days from the end of the financial year. Basically 31st March, then it will be mostly September 28th. So within which you got to appoint a cost auditor through a board resolution, and these things will be filed in form CRA 1. Okay. Sorry, form CRA 2. It is appointment of cost audit. So what they do is, who is engaged in this filing, who is going to do this are the CS people. So we have company secretaries who will roll out the letter of, the letter of consent. Then they have the acceptance letter where you go and accept it. Okay. So I'll show you the real letter of acceptance, how it looks, and the consent forms and all. So once that is rolled out, accordingly the board resolution will also be filed, and everything together goes into form CRA 2. And now by chance, if I leave that cost audit office before the term, then within 30 days another cost auditor needs to be appointed. It could be that casual vacancy could be out of any of the reasons like resignation, death or removal. Anything can happen. And it needs to be filed by the board of directors. It needs to be filled, okay, filled by the BOD within 30 days of occurrence of such vacancy. Fine, that is form CRA 2 basically. So here if you see cost audit rule 6. So if you just go through this, so please have your book also open along with you so that you keep marking things. If you have highlighters, you can also highlight it, because these are all the important things which will be forming part of your MCQs, sometimes long questions. Okay. So cost audit rule 6. First comes board meeting. Appointment within 180 days of the commencement of financial year. That is what they calculate, literally 180 days. They don't go by 6 months calculation. You should be careful about it. So that's why I told you it's September 28th. If you calculate 180 days, it falls on September 28th. Then company shall inform the cost auditor concerned of his or its appointment, and concerned letter from the cost auditor to be obtained. So there will be one eligibility letter, another one is letter of consent. In eligibility letter, whether the cost auditor is not under any, like he is holding certificate of practice, what are all the things applicable? So is he eligible to be appointed as a cost auditor? That will be the content of that letter. When you look at letter of consent, so here the cost auditor himself agrees to the appointment. He gives his consent for the appointment as a cost auditor. So here if you see appointment within 180 days, whichever is earlier. What whichever is earlier, file a notice of such appointment with central government within a period of 30 days of board meeting in which the appointment is made. Find a notice of such appointment with the central government within a period of 180 days from the commencement of the financial year. Whichever is earlier, that will be applicable. Why whichever is earlier? See, they give 180 days. But if you do much before that, a board resolution is passed. Once the board resolution is passed, within 30 days from the board resolution, this needs to be filed. Okay. So auditor shall continue in office till the expiry of 180 days from the closure of the financial year or till he submits the report. What is this? Closure of the financial year or till he submits the report. For example, previous year, in the year 2025, okay, the letter of consent was taken from me. I was appointed as a cost auditor, not for 25, not for 24-25. I was appointed for 25-26 financial year. See, 26 financial year is still going on. It's not. Now, it happens before the commencement of financial year or during the commencement. So, during the year, I was appointed. Okay, so if they want me to remove it, okay, they can remove me from being a cost auditor, but till what time I can hold the office? I can hold it till September 28th. Okay, that is 180 days from the closure of the financial year or till I submit the report for the financial year for which I was appointed. So why there is a delay in submission? See, even for the submission of cost audit report, it is 180 days. So 28th of September is the deadline for filing cost audit report. What is this filing cost audit report? That is nothing but preparation of cost audit report and presenting it to the board of directors. Once the review is done, within 30 days, that is if it is September 28, then it should be October 28, within which it needs to be uploaded with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs in XBRL, okay, and CRA 4 form should be filed. So till now we have seen only CRA 3, we'll be moving further to what is CRA 4, okay. CRA 3 is basically your cost audit report. Then, if you see here, yeah, and if there is a casual vacancy that needs to be filled in within 30 days, inform the central government in CRA 2 within 30 days of such appointment, submit the cost audit report by the cost auditor in CRA 3 and cost audit report submitted to BOD within 180 days. Company within 30 days from the date of receipt of copy of cost audit report, they got to furnish this in CRA 4. With CRA 4, the entire process gets concluded. So basically, if we see a quick recap, CRA 1 is requirement of cost records. CRA 2 is basically related to all the things about appointment of cost auditor and it contains all the cost auditor details. CRA 3 is basically all your annexure, it's basically your cost audit report itself. This will be reviewed, presented and uploaded in MCA through XBRL, okay, and that happens with the furnish of CRA 4 form. So there are basically 4 forms that you got to remember. Any doubts? Are you following the sequence? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now moving on to CRA 1. Forms in which cost record shall be maintained. The form CRA 1 prescribes the form in which the cost record shall be maintained. The form categorizes the requirement of maintaining proper details as per 30 headings. There are various headings, okay. We will take each and every heading to understand what kind of a cost we are referring to. Fine. So meanwhile, I'll also pass on to you a website link where you can actually see how the XBRL looks like. Like from there the validation happens and we can upload it to XBRL. The macros won't work unless and until you subscribe for that. But you can go through the format of it. Okay, so I will share that link at the end of the session. You can have a hands-on, okay, how CRA 1 looks like, what are all the different headings, how it is getting linked to each and every sheet. So we basically prepare it in an Excel sheet, okay, and the report is submitted in Word format, PDF format as well as in Excel sheet, and this Excel sheet is used for XBRL upload because it's easy to copy paste the numbers from the Excel sheet to the tool itself. Okay, so there are 3 formats in which the cost audit report will be submitted. So while we look at CRA 1, there are different categories. So if you see there are around 31 headings that we are finding. So let's go through each and every heading separately. First comes material cost. So what comes to your mind when we talk about materials? Yes?
Raw materials.
Yes, but it is just not raw materials. It's just not the invoice copy that goes into it. What are all the things will be there in your material cost? Freight inward, any duties that you pay for if there is an import of raw materials, okay?
Yeah.
Handling charges, loading, unloading, And then whatever is related to materials, that will come under material cost. And here of course, opening stock of raw materials plus purchases minus closing stock is applicable. Fine. Then moving on to employee cost. So here I want to know, employee cost, is that for direct employees, I mean those who are directly involved in the operations, or even it is admin staff that will come inside under employee cost? What do you think? Yes, because employee cost, yeah, tell me.
I think both.
Sorry,
Both.
port,
Both.
both.
Tire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually it looks like it is both, but it's not both. Here employee cost is a synonym of direct labor that you have gone through in your cost sheet. Okay? So be very careful कि यहाँ पे employee cost में you take only the people who are directly involved in the business. Directly मतलब you have another category of indirect labor under factory overheads. Do you remember that?
Yep.
That indirect labor which comes under factory overheads, for example, a floor supervisor or a site engineer, okay, all his things will come under this employee cost. But a HR personnel or who is in finance side, so all that admin kind will come under administrative overheads. So be careful about this employee cost. Though it says employee cost, it is direct and indirect labor who are involved in the production. Got it? Yes? No doubts? See, actually when you go through the rules, you will find it's not a big deal to understand what an employee cost is. But when it comes to real scenario, real life situations, when you get the data from the HR, finding out how many people are there. See, even you might be having seasonal employees. Seasonal employees who are taken for wages or during that season. For example, if I talk about sugar industry, there are many seasonal employees who are taken on contract basis, depending upon the harvest, depending upon the work, because they got to work only for 6 months or 5 months, basically November to March. Afterwards the sugarcane season is not there. So during that period, if they depute them on a full-time employment, what will they do for the rest of the months? So that is why we have many seasonal employees who are taken on a contract basis. Their salaries will also be included under employee cost. Got it? Any doubts? Yes?
No, ma'am.
And what other benefits you give to the employees? Like for example, it is always, as I told, in a sugar industry, it's 24/7. So people are given place to stay there. People are given food sometimes. So canteen benefits, all these things will also get into employee cost. So that is what, if you look at P&L, in profit and loss, you, on the debit side, you have just broad categories of expenses. But when it comes to costing, you are not going to just go by the broad categories. You are going to dig down, looking into which cost will come under which heading. So it is basically you go and break it at the ground level. That happens there. Fine. So material cost is done, employee cost is done. Third one is utilities. So I think Preetham, we already discussed about utilities, but still, can you remember, recollect and tell me what comes under utilities?
Power, water consumption.
Yes, that which is directly related to your business, like for example, fuel also, petrol, diesel. So for, they may be having huge generators for which they might be using diesel, okay. So when the power is off, they use the generators for the backup. So all these things come under utilities. The next question should be, why we have utilities separately and not showing it as factory overheads? See, utilities also are major cost when you look into manufacturing kind of companies, okay? They are also part of major cost. So instead of putting them directly under material cost, why to confuse? Because these are not directly involved, but they are required for production purpose. So that is why utilities is marked separately. There is a separate form that we will be discussing wherein they even require, if I say utilities was 15 lakhs, I have to give a statement showing how much is water, how much is electricity. Okay, so all these details should go into that. And when I say it is material cost, you know, in material cost it is just not enough you give the total value from your purchase records. You have to give the details of the top 10 materials. Like for example, if you look at an infrastructure or a highway laying business, okay, for them, what are all the main sources of materials? Can you think about some raw materials that are used in such things? In a construction kind of a scenario, where they are constructing roads, highways, bridges, what do you think? What would be the main materials over there?
Peaches.
Sorry?
Peat.
No, I didn't get you, yeah?
Peat. Then stones.
Yeah, bitumen, they use bitumen in road laying. Bitumen, cement, bricks.
Cement, yeah.
And important thing of all is
Iron.
steel. Steel.
Yeah, iron, steel.
Yeah, they'll be using all those things. And crushed stones, okay, cement, bricks. So all these things of which that is of maximum value will be listed down. So it confines to top 10 material cost. So what we do is, if there are many materials, we take the top 9 and we club the other things under the 10th category as other materials. This is how we showcase. Got it? So that way, the cost audit report demands you to give a detailed explanation of what goes into material cost in a separate form. So while you look at the forms, what I'll do is I'll send you the actual form in a PDF format. You can look into how each and every format is linked to each other. If you are very much interested, you can even take a print of it, okay, to get a hold on how it is linked to each other. Fine? Okay. So then comes, after the utilities, the direct expenses. So you have material cost, you have direct wages, you have utilities. But what are these direct expenses? That which are directly related to the business or the production. For example, there could be site expenses. Like when it goes by highway laying or mending of the roads, projects, it's all the cost centers of the project sites. So each and every site might have direct expenses related to that site. All that will fall under this category. Okay. Next on list is repairs and maintenance. So what comes to your mind about repairs and maintenance? Yes. Just start thinking in real life scenario, what could be the repairs and maintenance that you can put it here?
Maintenance of machinery.
Sorry?
Maintenance of machinery.
Yes. So there would be some contracts for that, annual maintenance. Yes. So you will be renewing it. Yes. So apart from that, what else comes to your mind?
Breakdown.
Yeah, if there is a breakdown, then you call the engineers to come and fix it. So for that you pay the charges. Even the transportation that is paid for such engineers who come for that repair maintenance, the lodging, all those things will come under repairs and maintenance. Are you able to understand what kind of expenses I am clubbing?
Yes.
Yes. So that is how in reality it happens. See, it is, I cannot say, just say that I am going to pay what the service charges are. Apart from the service charges, if I have to pay for his transportation, his lodging, his food, all those things will also come under repairs and maintenance. It might look silly, but the purpose behind that person being in your place and spending on him, the motive should be looked into. value categorize. So if you look at financial accounting, sometimes this will be clubbed under some other heading. So that is what mapping, that is apple to apple match, can never happen between a financial item with that of an expense in costing records, because that goes much deeper. Okay? Got an idea? Next. Next comes fixed assets and depreciation. It's basically depreciation. It's not fixed assets and depreciation. It's depreciation of fixed assets. So let me know what will come under depreciation of fixed assets. Yes. Use your costing knowledge, not the financial knowledge, financial accounting knowledge. Use the costing knowledge, think about the cost sheet. What kind of a depreciation can come in here?
The depreciation of machinery.
Yes, that which is related to production. For example, if the company has an asset list, in that they have vehicles or their own company buses, okay? You say vehicles which are used for purposes, and they have certain guest house, okay? So when you take depreciation, if you see the statutory audit report, you will have the depreciation sheet which will mention all the broad categories of assets. And all the depreciation put together will be the total depreciation that will be shown in your P&L. But when it comes to costing records, and when we are supposed to give depreciation separately, that is basically depreciation on all that things that are used for production. I won't charge depreciation on furniture under this depreciation. Depreciation of furniture, if it is for the office purpose, that will go into office and administrative. If it is used in a sales showroom, then it will go to the selling and distribution. Are you able to make a difference? It might look, I'll directly take depreciation and put it here. What's the big deal? No, you have to dig down on the components of depreciation on which assets it has been levied. And are these assets related to admin? Are these related to selling? Or is this related to production? Basically, depreciation on those assets which are engaged in production will come here. Are you able to understand? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. Then comes overheads, basically administrative overheads. Okay. Other overheads category is also there. Administrative overheads, you know, whatever fits into office will come under administrative overheads. Royalty and technical know-how. Transportation cost, I don't think so now it's available. Royalty and technical know-how. So this is basically, if you look at highway laying business, okay, so they use, that is, they need stones. So they take it from the stone crushers. So basically they have their own stone crushers, okay. So what these stone crushers do, they have to break the rock. Rock is basically a natural resource which belongs to the government. For that they pay royalty and then do it. So in that case, such kind of an expense will come under royalties, okay. Then research and development expenses, if they have separately. Quality control expenses. According to you, QC, quality control, does it happen at each and every process, or is that something that happens at the end? What are your views?
At the end.
It looks it is at the end, but it's not so when it comes to manufacturing kind of companies, okay? Actually, we should not just look at testing things at the end after it is produced, because if there is a default, it will either go for a rework or you scrap it. But if it, at every stage, if there is a quality control, think about the final product. Will there be any wastage?
No.
No. So for example, if I just went to sugar factory visit, yeah, at that time I found like at each and every level. So right from collecting water from the river, okay, it goes to their RO plant. RO is reverse osmosis process, through which the water is actually softened. Only when it is softened, it can be used in boilers. So if they soften it, at every point of time they check the water percentage, the pH levels. So even that is a lab, there is a lab there. And when it goes for the sugarcane crushing, they take the sugarcane juice as a sample and they check what is the content of sugar or sucrose in it. So these are also, these lab expenses will form part of quality control. Are you able to understand? Yes?
Yes.
So sometimes even before getting into the factory, I was amazed to see that they were checking the quality of soil and the quality of sugarcane that is going into the factory. See, before harvest itself, they will book those fields based on the testing of the soil and the testing of the output, and you choose from which farmer you are going to buy the sugarcanes. So think about those charges. Even that is part of quality. Okay, so it actually varies from industry to industry, but it all remains the same, that you keep checking the quality at every stage. So any such a lab expenses, whatever you pay for that, will come under this quality control expenses. Okay, then comes pollution control expenses. So what are your general ideas when it comes to pollution control? Yes, you can think about an industry that you are aware of. What are the possible pollution that it can cause? What are the rules and regulations? You will pay for the fees, inspection, right? So can you just think about it and let me know?
We can check the air quality.
Yes. Air quality, the water that is discharged. Like for example, if you look into, what I would say is, when it comes to leather industry, okay? When it comes to leather, there is lot of water that gets discharged. They use lot of water, though I have no client of such kind. But still the water should be treated and let them out in the water bodies, or else it's going to pollute. So we have pollution control boards at state level, okay? So these pollution control boards, you have to abide by them. There will be lot of inspections coming in, okay? So all those expenses that you spend on it will be part of pollution control expenses. Got it? Like for example, in sugar industry, when the sugar, that is, they use sulfur and other chemicals during the process, and all that which is washed away through water, there is a water treatment plant separately which treats the water and lets it in the field. See, if they are not going to treat it and just like that leave the chemical or the pollutants in the soil, that is of course going to seep into the fields and your produce will be affected. So basically you are supposed to treat it and then let it go. Okay, so this all expenses will come under pollution control. Service department expenses, I don't find this in the new format. Packing expenses. So what comes to your mind when we talk about packing?
Packing. Oh, packing of final product.
Yeah, in that also there are two types of packing. Any idea about it?
One packing is for logistical transport and another one is for the consumer.
Yeah, basically we call it as primary packing materials and secondary packing materials. Primary packing material is a compulsory one, without which the product can never be handled. For example, if you look at a pharmaceutical company which is producing tablets, tablets is not just available in a, just like that, loose, right? You have to have a primary packaging, the strips. Think about the syrups, the syrup based medicines, it should come in the bottles. So here the bottle or the strip, or if you look at chocolates, people like chocolates. Chocolates, it comes in a wrapper. that is the primary packing material, okay. So that is very well part of cost of production. There is something called secondary packing. See, for example, it is customized according to your end consumer requirement. He or she is, I mean, the end customer is asking for the safety of packing, they want a double wrap to be involved. Okay, even without that, the product can be sold off. Or they want to put their logo or something on the bags, or they want a different kind of a bag for packing. So if I look at sugar, okay, so they have different kinds of packing, polythene packings. So that way, you would have never thought about even packing could be so much important. That is, it is listed in your cost sheet. But it is, okay? Interesting? Yeah?
Yeah.
So then we move on to finance cost. I think this is not something new to you. So what comes to your mind when we talk about finance cost? Yes, Shubham, I am not able to hear you. Can you put your thing in the chat box? उतना clarity नहीं है आपका audio. I don't know why. Maybe हो सकता है there is some internet issue also. Can you put it in the chat box? I'll just check the chat box also. In tray, what is that?
Interest, I think.
Oh, interest. Okay. Got it. Interest. Got it. Correct. Then what else? Of course, interest on your borrowings. Fine. And I have few questions. You have some expenses preliminary for getting a loan. Will that be charged here under finance cost? Like for example, there are loan processing charges. Right? It is not just interest that we pay. For any kind of a loan that you take, there will be processing charges for the same. So even that will be included under finance cost. Okay? Like if you do, if you delay your payment, what is the one that is levied on you?
Penalty.
Penalty. Now I have a question for you. Will such penalties that you pay, will that be included under finance cost? What do you think?
Yes.
Actually, it's no. Because any penalty that you pay, that is because of your action.
Okay.
So it
That
will
is-
not be included in the cost accounting records.
Yes, that is.
Got it?
Yeah, abnormal cost.
Yeah. So that is because of your action that you have delayed it. It is not because of the process or the production. So basically, such things which are not within the purview of cost accounting records, that actually forms part of reconciliation of profit between cost and finance records. So there is a separate, actually there are a lot of questions that we will be doing on this reconciliation. At that time you will find like such penalties, okay, late fees, penalties are not part of cost accounting records. Got it? Got the insight? Okay, let's move on to, here they have given capacity determination, work in progress and finished stock. Okay, capacity determination, there is a separate form for this, annexure for capacity. Like what is the plant capacity? That becomes your available capacity. To what extent you have utilized is, that is the utilization capacity. To what extent you have produced and what are all the adjustments made to the capacity, and finally how much you have produced in a particular unit of measurement. For example, if I talk about sugar, what is the available capacity? So even though it can crush so many tons of sugar canes, but it depends upon how much sugar cane harvest I had this year, that will form part of not available. That is the utilization. So likewise, there are different capacities and we got to match this with the final number of sales and that which is lying in the closing stock. So you know very well, opening stock plus production minus closing stock and any other adjustments. Adjustments to stock is also important. Like for example, if you look at bagasse, okay, so bagasse is the leftover when you crush this sugarcane. The sugarcane juice is extracted separately and the bagasse comes out. So even if you have gannaras, okay, you will know how it is different. When you have a sugarcane juice, you know the person will insert that sugarcane again and again and make it, take the entire juice and whatever is the remain, that is the bagasse, okay. This bagasse is actually in a sugar factory. It is broken down into smaller particles so that it can be used as a fuel for burning. But when it is broken down in smaller particles, you know, one is it loses the moisture content as it dries. So there is a loss of weight. Another thing is when this is transported, see it is usually in an open way. So when it is transported from one place to another or within the cogen itself, there are chances of that getting getting into the air. So there is loss of bagasse due to loss in air. So you might think 1 kg or 1 quintal of sugar cane is going to give me this much bagasse. But the actual bagasse you would have got will be different. This is because loss of bagasse in air or loss of the moisture content which brings down the weight. So all these things should be factored into when it comes to stock. So that is why they always give adjustments to the stock. Are you able to understand? See, it is very easy when it comes to a calculation. क्या है? Opening stock है, purchases है, closing stock. That's it. This is material consumed. It's not the case in a practical situation. It's not material consumed. There could be losses that is inherent in that particular product itself. Okay, like for example, when you look at steam, okay, so they use the boilers, they use bagasse as fuel, and they put the RO or the softened water in the boiler because they don't use hard water. If you put hard water and produce steam, what will happen? Scaling will form. It's as good as your geysers that you use. What happens over the period of time, the heating of the geysers come down. Why? Because there is scaling. It depends upon how hard the water is. We don't put any RO or soft water into our geysers. It directly comes from the overhead tanks. Though they use in certain societies, they use even water softeners, but they don't help. You know very well how the Pune water is. It's usually hard. So similar way, to avoid scaling, they use RO water in boilers. So when this RO water is used, the fuel is on and then it is burned, the steam is produced. But the pressure with which the steam is produced will decide whether it is going to go for electricity or it will be an exhaust steam. Are you able to understand the difference? So it's not always I account for, okay, this much water is converted into steam, so the entire water will go, the entire steam will go into my production of electricity. There are always losses in between. Are you able to understand?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just giving the practical way because when we read in books, it is totally different. No book explains this. When we actually look at it in a factory, it is totally different. Okay? So that is how you get insights, learnings. It is not just numbers you will be taking from the ERP. You have to know how the process works, why there is a loss being booked, or why this is not matching. Because as I told, when you look at P&L account, okay, it will have only one quantity, that is rupees, unit of measurement. But when you look at cost records and cost audit reports, there is always a quantitative information that backs the financial figures. Why? Because we go to the level of finding what is the cost of production per quintal of sugar, or cost of sales per quintal of sugar. So if you want that per quintal, you should know this cost is borne by how many kgs or quintals of sugar that you produce. So you have to not only work on the financial numbers but also the quantity. That is one big challenge when it comes to costing. Got it? Because quantity won't really match. It is not like A plus B minus C is equal to D what it is. So you have to dig down, okay, then you have to, okay, the numbers are not matching. So I cannot just like that cook the books. I go to the production manager, I just discuss with him, what will be the percentage that you think, because he knows the production way. So he says around this many percentage always goes in loss due to loss in air or due to transportation and all those things. So this kind of validations are required, and that forms part of the assumptions sheet that we prepare. We assume that this many percentage is lost by air. You cannot actually literally measure for each and everything, but you can put the percentage number allocation for it. Are you able to understand? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Interesting, boring, how is that going?
Yeah, it's interesting, ma'am.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about Pramod, Shubham? Are you able to follow?
Interesting, ma'am.
Yes, Pramod, you can type it. Your voice is not that clear. You can type in.
It is interesting, ma'am.
समझ में आ रहा है आपको?
हाँ,
Yes.
interesting.
Okay, okay. वो समझना जरूरी है. It's not like रट्ठा लगा के जाके लिखो. That won't help you. Because sometimes the question paper will be based on case studies also. So if there are indirect questions, you should know how to actually target it. And sometimes when we get questions, practical problems, उसमें इतना देते हैं because the people who set the paper are like, they are very professional, they know where what happens. But when as a student we approach a paper, that is different because we go by what knowledge we gain through books. Okay, that is why please do attend the lectures to get the practical insights. If you get the practical insights, one thing is you will find the theory subject also interesting. Another thing is you know how to actually approach a problem, and it is not just limited to the books. You know how to apply it in your real life. I mean, when you are in career, right? So you know how to do it in the workplace. So that is how it goes. So shall we take a quick break of 5 minutes and get back? Yes?
Sure, ma'am.
Sure. Okay. So I'll just mute myself. Fine? Yeah. Hello, am I audible? Are you back from the break?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'll also show you few websites, okay, from where you can get the information. And I'll also follow, I'll post all these documents that I have with me regarding the rules, regulations and stuff. Actually, why we are supposed to take cost accounting standards from the institute website? We have a CASB website. I'll show you that website. Basically, I have sent the address also to you, okay? So here if you see, these are the major announcement by cost accounting standards boards. We have 24 cost accounting standards. We have also a thing about what is GAAP and 13 guidance notes on CAS. So if you click on this, okay, like for example, they have a technical guide on cost management and healthcare services. So when I have a client who is into healthcare services, it is not just 24 cost accounting standards that I'll apply, but also I'll go through what is there in the technical guide of healthcare. So what happens is the people who are closely working on these things, right, they give their views on how to treat things. So for the first time, if I am approaching a pharmaceutical company, I may not have an outline of what I got to do, okay. So here if you see, the document comprehensively covers the following key areas. If you look at this, see, global and Indian healthcare trends, hospital performance appraisal, what is the management information system in this. So likewise, whenever I choose an industry, right, I also see whether there is any technical guide for the same so that I get acquainted with that industry. So it is always advantageous if you have clients from different industries because you will get a flavor of it, how it is different from each other. Of course, the base will be the same, but there will be lot of differences on what needs to be taken. For example, if I look at sugar industry, the water consumption is much more than that of highway laying, okay. And in sugar industry, the power consumption is more than that of highway laying. So that is what I could find across the industries. So these kind of guidance are actually available in this CASB website, okay. I have just forwarded to you. So they have certain revisions also, see. So you have cost accounting standard 6, it is revised. So you have to go by the revised one. See, each cost accounting standard document will give you what is the standard talking about, what is the objective, what is the scope, and what are all the definitions, and what you got to do under each of the situation. Okay. So like for example, if we take material receipt, what does the material receipt include? So the material receipt should be valued at purchase price including duties and taxes, freight inwards, insurance, other expenditure which are directly attributable to procurement, such as net of discounts, rebates, taxes and duties refundable or to be credited by taxing authorities. That can be quantified with reasonable accuracy at the time of acquisition. If you look at examples, it will be much more important. See, for example, SENVAT credits, credit for countervailing customs duty. Now we don't have any excise duties, we have GST directly. Okay, so such things will be so precisely given, like what needs to be included, what needs to be excluded. See, when I told it was material cost, it is very difficult to say what comes under material cost. But when you look at the definitions, it will be easier. Are you able to understand? Anyway, we will go through each and every cost accounting standard which is important for us. Okay, all the 24 standards. Fine.
Okay, ma'am.
So
Ma'am,
I'll tell
if
you.
the-
Yeah, tell me.
If there is a contradiction between module and the recent cost account standard that you are showing, what should we do?
See,
in
the industry thing will uphold. That which is specific to the industry, usually इसमें clash नहीं होता है because that has to follow the rules and regulations. But there could be certain exceptions for the industry. So that's why we go through the technical guide also, which is issued by the CMA Institute. Okay, so yeah, tell me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so that is how. So if I don't have any technical guide, directly I go by the cost accounting standards. Are you able to understand?
Yes.
So they have given all, see, such things are done on a daily basis, like not a daily basis, it happens whenever there is a requirement. So if such is the case, it's not like I just download, keep it in my drive, I keep referring the same thing for all my clients. I have to see what are all the changes. So that is why what I do is, I take it live from the website instead of going by the saved documents in my desktop. Got it? Because it is revised. So I will just try to find out ki kya hai revision mein, what is that newly added, what is revised. So like we get in taxation, right? We have different supplements. So even if you look at your website for students, okay? So I'll show you this. This is very important. While you go to CMA syllabus 2022. So look here, you have supplementary. These supplementaries are important. So here they will give paper wise. Paper 17 will have something new also inside it. Are you able to understand? So please, you got to go through these things so that you don't miss on important thing. This was December 2025. We have not received for the next one. So you got to go through this supplement. This is important. This will be as per the recent revision of rules. So please don't forget these things, and even I'll show you what other thing you got to do. There are some workbooks. So if you go into 2022 final, these are all the workbooks that are available for stage 3 and stage 4 together. So you have a workbook for cost and management audit also. If you click on this, you will have the relevant questions, the type of answers that they give. Okay, this will be a good thing to practice. Fine?
Okay.
Okay, so we have this. And then what other thing we have is MCQs. See here, MCQ bank for final. Go by that, go for the individual subject. You will have the entire set of MCQs. This is the way you got to prepare. Got it?
Yep.
Then you have also e-bulletins for students. So go to those e-bulletins. These are postal test papers. You have some tutorial workshops also. They have some video tutorials, but I got to access only with the registration number and the date of birth it is asking for. So if you want, you can also go through these tutorial works which is given paper wise. Just check it out what is there inside. Fine. And then there is something called e-bulletin. So that's for the students. I'll just check where it is. E-tracking, e-bulletin. So I'll just put it here instead. See, this is e-bulletin. Fine. So here if you check this e-bulletin, this is a monthly issue. So in this monthly issue, you will have problems from for foundation, inter and final. They'll have 1 or 2 questions. Okay, so you get a different range of questions to work on. So intermediate, group 8. So likewise you even have for final. See, are you able to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Go through this, you will have areas of questions, okay? So that becomes vast, right? It's not just your book, you are going topic wise. So that is going to help you out for things, okay? So what I would advise is, please go through this e-bulletins, you can download it, the soft copies. Then have the MCQs in place, and then have the workbooks, apart from your book back questions in your study material. I think this will cover up the entire thing, okay? And then we will anyway do questions from scanner. This is how you got to prepare for each and every kind of a subject you have with you. You need not buy any reference books separately. Go by this. It will help you a lot, okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes. So everybody followed it. One is bulletin, okay? It's called e-bulletin. This is especially for students. So how many of you actually know about that such things are there, or is that a surprise for you?
Yeah, ma'am, we have seen but never explored.
Yeah, please keep exploring because our website is giving so many inputs. Only thing is the awareness is missing about where to find and what to find. Okay, so but these were all dig downs that I did. Okay, so this you can directly take it from the website. It is available free of cost. And for suggested answers, you know how to access it, right? So use your registration number, take the question paper, but the suggested answers are not in detail. So sometimes they just give the outline of the answer or they just give the final answer in case of practical problems. So the steps you got to do it. Fine, at least you need not end up buying any scanners. You can directly take the suggested answers from the institute website itself. Okay, any issues? Yeah, so shall we move on to the subject once again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So then comes work in progress finished goods, captive consumption. So I think we have worked on this captive. I have given you an information about captive consumption. Like for example, sugar and distilleries are basically the cost audit is done for them together. Some companies do have only sugar unit, they don't have distilleries, okay. So they sell the molasses. Molasses is the main byproduct from the sugar cane that is crushed. So this byproduct is the input for distilleries, okay. The value of molasses is more than that of the sugar. That's the difference. Byproduct is having a higher value than the main product. So that is why sugar industries always go into losses because they have market control prices at which they need to sell it. They cannot just do it whatever they like because it is controlled by the government, the prices. So when you look at molasses, right? So some companies have their sugar unit alone, they don't have distilleries with them. So what they do is they sell this molasses in the open market and that forms part of their revenue. But when it comes to companies that have sugar as well as distilleries with them, what happens is whatever is the output, okay, the molasses will be transferred from sugar factory to the distillery factory. Until such input lasts, because as I told, sugar factory works for only for 5 months, from December to March. But if when you look at distillery, it works for 365 days, 24/7. Unless or until there is a breakdown or something else, it keeps going on and on. Okay, it's just not alcohol production, but also it is used in various other industries like washing, cleaning and chemical industries. Okay, so that becomes the main basis for that. So they get a lot of revenue from the distilleries. So what they do is when they transfer the molasses from sugar factory to the distillery of their own, it is actually a captive consumption, okay. But when we look at the accounting, the distilleries have a different ledger accounts, the sugar will have a different ledger account. But the molasses which is actually captively consumed will not be apparently visible when you look at the financial accounts because we don't do that transfer pricing stuff, okay. But here we use this captive consumption. So how do we pick the rates? One is if there is any purchase of molasses from outside, apart from the internal consumption, captive consumption, we take that price as basis for doing so. If there is no such purchases, then we ask for the production team on what is the average price in the market that you would pay for it, and we use it. But is that going to affect our profit numbers? Of course not, because a recovery will be shown, a credit of a revenue will be shown in sugar, it will be shown as a debit in your, debit in the sense you don't do the actual credit debit, it is less and add, okay, on each and every side of sugar and distillery. So what will happen at the total level, the profits are going to remain same, but the way it is going to show off for two different cost centers is going to be different. That's the only thing when it comes to captive consumption. So are you able to understand? Yes? Yeah, or do you need some more insight? Shubham, if you want, you can ask me a question. Pramod, you too?
Ma'am, can you show in the Excel means little bit?
Yeah, maybe for example, I'll show it in the Excel. For example, okay, we also maintain the stock records. Okay. In the stock records, see this is getting recorded, so I cannot show my real-time data also. Okay. Stock records, if I have stock for sugar and distillery separately. Okay. So sugar में क्या क्या stock आएगा? So under the sugar industry, sugar company, I'll have sugar, I'll have bagasse, I have compost, okay. And in distillery, I'll have different types of spirits, like they have rectified spirit, they call RS, ENS, that is natural spirit, and then they have, apart from this, they have also compost and they have molasses. So here also there will be some molasses, okay. So if I look at sugar, say, it will be XXX, everything will have a different unit of measurement. It's not the same everywhere. Molasses of course goes in quintals, but when you come to spirits, it is liquid, right? It will be in barrels, barrel liters, BL we call. So unit of measurement is also important. So here this will be in quintals. Okay, so this is how it looks. So what I do is, I do a calculation of what is molasses, how much molasses have they produced, that quantity, and I also look at what is lying in the stock of distillery, okay. So there will be stock, some stock with the sugar factory and some stock with the distillery. We just analyze how much molasses has gone into the production of these many barrel liters of spirits. So I can actually find out how much quintals have gone into it. So and I'll check for any purchases of molasses. So likewise I do this. So if I look at the cost sheet, okay, cost sheet of sugar separately will be prepared, cost sheet of distillery will be separately prepared, okay. These are basically two cost centers for a sugar factory. Sometimes we have even a ethanol, but as of now my client doesn't have that. So if I look at cost sheet of sugar, I have all the expenses, put all the cost, okay. Then what I do, I reduce this as a recovery, like this many molasses was transferred to sugar. And in this cost sheet, molasses becomes the direct material. So over here if I put 10,000 minus, here it comes 10,000 plus in my cost. So if I look at overall level, what will happen? This plus and this minus is going to go off.
Yep.
It's not going to have an impact on my profits at all. This is called recovery when there is a captive consumption. And this is called, usually it can be captively consumed. If you have excess, you can also sell it in the market. But either way, it is the cost of the byproduct which is shown as the recovery from the cost of the main product. The logic remains the same. Are you able to understand? For example, in your real life situation, do you subscribe for newspapers? Do you have the habit of going through the newspapers and subscribing for it?
No ma'am.
No, now all e-papers.
E-papers.
So before, if you see, like few years back, even 10 years back, people have that craze. Have you gone for budget papers? When some new things come up, right? Instead of going by e-copy, I prefer a hard copy of it. I save it. Okay, so let it be budget, so let it be some income tax bill coming in, okay. So if I go for, say I have a subscription. So what I do, monthly subscription, 500 rupees I pay for it. What about the old newspapers? What do I do?
We'll sell it.
I sell it. So what is my net to net cost of the subscription of the papers? If it is an English paper, per kg cost is more when I resell, right? Compared to other languages.
Yep.
Okay. So my total recovery will be 500, say minus 100, 400 is the net cost. See what did I do? I put the recovery. Similarly here, the main product of sugar, the recovery is in the form of molasses, bagasse sale and all those things. So my cost will basically drop because of the recovery of, revenue through sale of these byproducts. Are you able to understand?
Yes.
This is how it works. We call that as the recovery of cost. Because cost sheet, entirely it goes into the cost. The last item in the bottom of the list will be your sales, which is your revenue. Cost is so much. Sales is just in single line. Okay? So that is how we work on it. So all these recoveries, and there is also something called compost. Compost is nothing but when they actually crush all the sugar cane bagasse is also gone. During the process, there is something called press mud that actually comes out. This press mud is mixed with certain things, leftovers, and that forms part of compost, which is a manure for farmers. This is also sold out. So think about the recovery that you get. That might be minor, but still it's a revenue and it's a recovery of cost. So when you get into an industry which is complicated and having so many byproducts, that gives you more clarity and depth understanding of costing. That is what I would say. For the first time when I took up cost assignment for a highway laying industry, I couldn't understand much. Then I started my own strategies on how I have to collect the information. So usually what I do is in industrial training program that happens, right? It's compulsory for the final people. So I take 2 days for that, okay, explaining on how I play my strategy. Because for the first time when you venture into a practice, okay, and that too as a sole proprietor, it's very difficult to get the pulse of it. So you have to consult your fellow people who are practicing cost accountants in that particular industry, who are experienced enough. Okay, so you get into call with them, go through the technical guides, whatever information is available on Google, you just go through it, make notes, take all the things, go for factory visits, plan your audits, prepare a checklist. These are all the things that we will be discussing when it comes to the actual industrial training. Okay, only thing is I don't take people to that industrial site because it's all located very far off. Okay, so please do attend such session if this is rolled out. It usually gets rolled out during the end of the session. Okay, yeah. So that will give you more insight on how practically we deal with things. Fine, so got about this byproducts, joint products. Of course, it is about 2 products going together and 1 single output coming. But I have not worked in any industry that is having this joint product kind of a thing. I have gone into this sugar, which is having a lot of byproducts. Okay. Then adjustment of cost variances. Cost variances, you know, the standard costing and the cost variances analysis. Usually, the companies in India, we actually don't have this standard costing in place. If you have a robust, I would say, production team, implementation, and then talking about big ERP and stuff, there comes all these cost variances, okay, or else it won't. Then coming to reconciliation of cost and financial accounts, as we have already discussed, the profit as per financial records will always be different from the profits from the cost records. That's because of few items which are excluded from the cost records. So you would have already got a pulse of it. Like I was talking about penalty and donations that you make. That is all not part of it, right? And we have certain interest income or dividend income coming out of investments that we have made elsewhere. That is nowhere related to operations. So if you look at the cash flow statement, you will get a better idea ki what will come under the reconciliation itself. Because in cash flow statement, we have 3 types of finance that is coming in. One is, so just try to recollect your cash flow statement.
Okay, cash flow statement, operating expense, financial expense, and investing.
Excellent. So we have cash coming in from operating activities, from financial activities, from investment activities. So if you see, that comes from the operation activities, or mainly what we are focusing on under cost audit. That coming from investment or financial activity doesn't bother us much. Financial activity also, we add the finance cost in our cost sheet, but at the same time we don't take that delayed payments, penalties, late filing, fees and all. Okay, so all that will form part of reconciliation items. So we will go in depth in reconciliation items because we have practical problems to solve. Okay, and then related party transactions. Do you have any idea about related party transactions? Yes, what comes to your mind when it is related party transactions?
The stakeholders of the company.
They are not basically the stakeholders, yeah, they could be the stakeholders, they are the related parties to the company, but when the transactions are carried out between the company, because company is a separate legal entity from its owners, right? So what happens is, like for example in sugar factories, usually it is backed by politicians or big farmers, or even in my case it's the politician, but he has his own sugarcane farms. So when the sugarcane is bought from his farms and also sugarcane from other farmers, the transaction between, because he is the director of the company, he is involved, he is a related party to the company, and at the same time the transaction involved is purchase of sugarcane from him. So there is always chances of price influence, price getting influenced. So that is why there is a separate thing called related party transactions disclosure, wherein we disclose whatever transaction that has happened throughout the year. It could be even the director remuneration that is paid to the related parties. Fine. It could be its sister concern also. Some way or other way they are related. It is in order to avoid or bring in more transparency to what is reported. See, basically in private limited companies, usually the owners or the directors. But in case of listed companies where you have equity shareholders, don't you think they also should know what kind of transactions has gone into their businesses? And is that having a bearing impact, or is that having any personal interest carried out in it? So related party disclosures are gaining momentum nowadays. So you have to compulsorily do disclosure of related party transactions. Not even in cost audit, but also in statutory audit report. Okay?
Okay, for both private and public.
So yeah, for everybody. It is for private limited company also we do it.
Okay.
Okay, even the remuneration that you pay to directors will be part of related party transfer, because directors are the owners of the company there. Alright? But in case of listed companies, if you say board of directors, they are different from the owners. Are you able to understand the difference? So that way it works. Then coming to expenses or incentives on exports. This is basically rarely it occurs, only when the business is engaged in exports you get all these things. Then production records, sales records, you check all these things to find out, like I want opening stock, I want the production, I want the purchases. Always I get all these numbers from the production team. Try to get all the information from them saying that, is this the production? They'll say no. Then what are the shortfalls? They'll say loss by air, loss by transit, this, that and everything, this many percentages. So accordingly I do the allocation and at last give the production numbers. This is how it works. Fine. So this is CRA 1. CRA 2 is the form of intimation of appointment of cost auditor by the company to the central government. So what will it have? So it will have the CIN number. So if you get any company, you can put it in Google search to find what is the CIN number. General information, what are all the products and services that are subject to cost audit, what is the financial year to which it pertains to, and what is the details of previous cost auditor which has not been reappointed. Okay, so all these information will be found in that. Okay, so CRA 2, CRA 3 is extensively all the cost statements will come, and next year's to cost audit report we will discuss tomorrow because this is important. Yeah, so I would like to wind up the class over here. So if you have any doubts in your mind, you can discuss with me tomorrow, and please access all those websites, okay? on CMA portal. It's very easy. You go dig down, you will get all the answers. So you have to do a lot of digging down into the things that you got to refer to. Fine? So that's all from my side for today. Good night and have a nice dinner. Bye.
Ma'am, one
Yeah.
thing, ma'am.
Tell me.
Yeah, ma'am, last class means the video quality and audio quality was much better.
Is it so? Okay.
Yeah.
Fine, I will just also tell about this to the institute, okay, so that they work on it. Okay, if it doesn't work, what I will do is I'll stop the live streaming, which would actually reduce the load on the system, okay. So because live streaming is also going on, right? So maybe I'll check out if the live streaming is end, what will happen. Because anyway,